Welcome back, my friends, my Canadian cousins, brothers, sisters, neighbors, and all of the above. I am so happy to have you with me tonight. It is a Friday night for me. I don't know when you'll be watching it, but it is a Friday night for me, so I am feeling happy. And I decided tonight that instead of reacting to something historical, although there is going to be a historical element to it, I want to celebrate Canadian culture, and specifically, a lot of times people think that American culture tends to dominate the world, and there's this concept of cultural imperialism, and that's not wrong. It is true, but I think sometimes Canadian culture is overlooked in its contribution to the overarching North American culture. There are so many amazing Canadian artists, comedians, musicians, and sometimes people don't even realize they're Canadian, but they do have a very strong impact on our lives and our psyches, and there have been so many amazing musicians, and so that's what I want to focus on today. And you probably saw the thumbnail, so you know where this is leading. I'm actually a very amateur musician myself. I play the drums, and I have for a long time. And so it wouldn't be surprising for anyone to learn that my absolute famous drummer is this guy. And if any of you don't recognize that, that is the Professor, Neil Peart, from the band Rush. Yes, and so one of the best rock and roll bands, progressive bands, prog rock of all time, the amazing trio that is Rush. This is not going to be a Rush reaction, but I happen to love vinyl, and these are my Rush vinyls, and these are my Rush vinyls, and someday maybe I will do a reaction to Rush. This one is particularly cool. That's the actual vinyl with that imprint on it. What I'm going to do today is to look at an artist that I think is underrated. But as I said before, I think that too many people don't realize that so many great musicians are Canadian. And let's just take a look at this list. The great Neil Young. What can you say about him? His solo work, his work with Crosby, Stills and Nash, just absolutely amazing. Of course, everyone knows Celine Dion is Canadian. I think those first two everyone knows. Alanis Morissette, of course. A lot of people may not realize Shania Twain's Canadian because she's country. And just look, I mean, the list. Bryan Adams, The Weeknd, Leonard Cohen, God rest his soul. Just Joni Mitchell. Legendary, but the one I'm focusing on today is this guy, Gordon Lightfoot. I happen to think that Gordon Lightfoot is one of the most, I wouldn't say underrated is the word, but underappreciated or under-observed or representative singer-songwriters that ever lived, at least in the United States and probably abroad. I know in Canada he's probably a living legend, and thank God he's still with us, but I love Gordon Lightfoot, and I think he is one of the best singer-songwriters and folk artists of his generation. I have a couple of his vinyls, and I go to these used record stores, and I got this for $5. I mean, what a bargain. $3.99. Ridiculous. Worth so much more. I don't know what I paid for this, but Gordon Lightfoot is just absolutely amazing. So I thought I'd share this bit of Canadian culture and this specific Canadian artist who I think is an absolute gem and a gift that Canada gave to the world tonight by reacting to one of his songs. How to choose a Gordon Lightfoot songs. I mean, there's just so many good ones. So I decided I would choose one that is sort of, since I'm American, that touches on something that is an important event to both Canada and the United States, and that's the sinking of the Edmond Fitzgerald in Lake Superior in 1975. And if you don't know the story, you guys should look it up someday. It's really, really touching and amazing. The Edmond Fitzgerald was a cargo ship that was hauling cargo from Wisconsin to, I'm not exactly sure where, but somewhere across Lake Superior. And there was gale force winds in a storm that was expected, but not expected to hit that early. And she got caught in the storm, and she signaled other ships, and she was in trouble, but she wasn't in dire trouble. And then all of a sudden they lost contact with her. And the last anyone had heard from her, she was making for the Canadian shore of Lake Superior, and she ended up sinking, and all hands were lost. Well, Gordon Lightfoot, and the search effort, included not only the United States Coast Guard and civilian ships, but also the Canadian Coast Guard. And it was a big story in Canada because we share Lake Superior as body of water between the two, and a lot of commerce goes on there. And if you're not from North America, maybe you can't appreciate how big this lake is. In any event, Gordon Lightfoot read the news story about it and was touched and inspired to write a song. And so we are going to be listening to Gordon Lightfoot's song tonight and appreciating the genius that he wrote about the Edmond Fitzgerald. So, without further ado, let us enjoy this together and just appreciate this iconic Canadian artist.
The legend lives on from the Chippewa on down of the big lake they call Gitchagumi. The lake, it is said, never gives up her dead when the skies of November turn gloomy. With a load of iron ore, 26,000 tons more than the Edmond Fitzgerald weighed empty. That good ship and true was a bone to be chewed when the gales of November came early. The ship was the pride of the American side, coming back from some mill in Wisconsin. As the big freighters go, it was bigger than most, with a crew and good captain well seasoned.
I'm so sorry to pause and interrupt, but I do know from watching other music reaction videos, which, channels which this isn't, that if you don't, it's not fair use and it can get blocked, and I don't want that to happen. So I do kind of have to pause and comment sometimes. I would love to just sit down with you and actually put this on vinyl and not watch it on video with the digital medium, although it is cool to see the words. So let's continue.
Including some terms with a couple of steel firms when they left fully loaded for Cleveland. Then later that night when the ship's bell rang, could it be the north wind they'd been feeling? The wind in the wires made a tattletale sound, and the wave broke over the railing. And every man knew, as the captain did too, 'twas the witch of November come stealing. The dawn came late and the breakfast had to wait when the gales of November came slashing. When afternoon came, it was freezing rain in the face of a hurricane west wind.
He's just brilliant. He's brilliant. And I love how he took this song and made it in almost like a sea shanty style, just to give it that tragic sailor's life, that old sailor's life where they're, in the age of sailing ships, the people at home never knew if their loved ones were coming home.
When supper time came, the old cook came on deck saying, "Fellas, it's too rough to feed you." At 7 p.m. a main hatchway caved in. He said, "Fellas, it's been good to know ya." The captain wired in, he had water coming in, and the good ship and crew was in peril. Later that night, when his lights went out of sight, came the wreck of the Edmond Fitzgerald. Does anyone know where the love of God goes when the waves turn the minutes to hours? The searchers all say they'd have made Whitefish Bay if they'd put 15 more miles behind her.
What a brilliant line. I'm going to back this up a second. Does anyone know where the love of God goes when the waves turn the minutes to hours?
The searchers all say they'd have made Whitefish Bay if they'd put 15 more miles behind her. They might have split up or they might have capsized. They may have broke deep and took water. And all that remains is the faces and the names of the wives and the sons and the daughters.
Again, he just captures, oh God, he just captures it.
All that remains is the faces and the names of the wives and the sons and the daughters. Lake Huron rolls, Superior sings in the rooms of her ice water mansion. Old Michigan steams like a young man's dreams. The islands and bays are for sportsmen. And farther below, Lake Ontario takes in what Lake Erie can send her. And the iron boats go, as the mariners all know, with the gales of November remembered.
But I don't want this to get blocked.
In a musty old hall in Detroit, they prayed in the Maritime Sailors' Cathedral. The church bell chimed till it rang 29 times for each man on the Edmond Fitzgerald. The legend lives on from the Chippewa on down of the big lake they call Gitchagumi. Superior, they said, never gives up her dead when the gales of November come early.
Ending with that same verse is brilliant because when he first sings it, it doesn't have as much meaning until you see the story and hear the story. And then to end it with that same verse, it just has a whole new meaning to it. Well, my friends, not much to say. The art speaks for itself. Let me know if you would like me to do more of this kind of content, because I would really like not only to learn about Canadian culture and art that I don't know about yet, so I'm absolutely 1,000% open to suggestions, but also to, I don't know how many Americans are watching this. I hope some, because the world needs to understand who Gordon Lightfoot is and who some of these wonderful Canadian artists are that have given so much to us that too many Americans don't even realize are Canadian. One specifically comes to mind, and that is the Canadian-American band, The Band, which formed in Toronto, I believe, and I just absolutely love them. They're one of my favorites too, and I'm thinking of the song Acadian Driftwood might be appropriate, so let me know if you'd like me to do that. Yeah, just love them. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching once again, and I shall see you soon.